Hello, and welcome to Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter, a podcast where Dr. O from All Creatures Every Spine interviews doctors and animal owners that utilize animal chiropractic to get their unique perspectives. Yes, it's really a thing. Dr. O utilizes his 30 years of experience as both an animal chiropractor and veterinarian, and to dig deep into the discussion of complex issues affecting the lives of your animal friends and companions. Join us for this educational episode. Thanks for joining us for this portion of the episode as Dr. O begins to answer the question, what is animal chiropractic? He will look at how the chiropractic adjustment is a valuable and viable treatment for what ails your animals.
So, animal chiropractic, concerned with the conductor of your animal's movements, function, and everything. So like the conductor of an orchestra, your animal's nervous system orchestrates all the functions of the body. Their heart rate, every cell, metabolism, and all that. So every system, every cell in the body gets its guidance from the conductor, the brain. And when that communication is off, then nothing works right. So in the orchestra, if the drummer has the wrong beat, the woodwinds are playing too loud. It just doesn't sound right, does it? The conductor has to get everybody playing at the same tune at the same time so that everything works great. And as an animal chiropractor, that's what I'm trying to do, is to get your animal's body to function at its optimal level all the time so that no matter what, everything is great. So that we can have this beautiful symphony of sound, beautiful symphony of movement that's your animal. And that's our goal with animal chiropractic.
Make sure to visit our website, allcreatureseveryspine.com, where you can subscribe to the show and learn more about getting your animals adjusted. If you are in the Meridian, Texas area, drop in on a Tuesday afternoon to get your animals adjusted. If that isn't possible, schedule a consultation on your animal's health with Dr. O. You can also purchase a copy of Dr. O's book, Yes, It's Really a Thing.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. For me, my hero is Frank, my best friend. But even the greatest heroes need help sometimes. Frank and I were at the park the other day when he started limping and favoring his left leg. I didn't see what happened, but I could tell something was wrong. So we went to see Frank's favorite vet, Yvette. Yvette the vet. After running some tests, she determined that Frank had torn his ACL. His best option was surgery. But unfortunately for me, surgery wasn't an option. So what could I possibly do to be a hero to my hurting hero? That was when Yvette told us about hero braces. She took a quick cast of his leg and said this mold would be used to create a biomechanically designed stifle brace, custom made just for Frank, allowing his body's natural healing processes to take over and stabilize the knee. About 2 weeks later, she fitted the brace and gave us the green light to walk, hike, and snuggle, and do all the activities that Frank and I were used to doing. It was that simple. Hero braces are lightweight, don't stretch or tear, and are durably designed to last the life of your dog. So Frank can get back to being Frank. Like I said, heroes come in all shapes and sizes. And lucky for us, so do hero braces.
Hello everyone, and welcome to barfworld.com. If you're seeing this video, it typically means you're interested in trying our 90-day challenge. If your pet is suffering from allergies, kidney issues, obesity, diabetes, or even cancer, our food can help with that. So if you're ready to see your pet's health dramatically improve in just 90 days, call us and schedule your consultation today. Hope to talk to you guys soon.
What is going on, everyone? My name is Stan Smith. I'm the CEO of X-Dog and the inventor of the X-Dog Weight and Fitness Vest. What is the X-Dog Weight and Fitness Vest? In a nutshell, it is the world's greatest harness for dogs. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're looking to build muscle, combat obesity, address anxiety issues, high energy, you want to suppress that energy level. If you just want to take the average walk and turning into a health improving workout, we made it so convenient to exercise your dog that you literally only need about 30 seconds a day. It doesn't matter if you're doing basic obedience training or compete at high level dog sports or in protection sports. The X-Dog Weight and Fitness Vest can enhance it and take any type of daily lifestyle to the next level. If you want to be part of our mission of eliminating canine obesity or just being a part of our team, make sure you go to teamxdog.com. As always, man, I want to thank you for your time and your support, and Team X-Dog strong.
Join us as Dr. O interviews a certified chiropractor, veterinarian, or an animal owner. These enthusiastic people explain how they utilize animal chiropractic to alter the lives of the animals in their communities.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter. I'm your host, Dr. O. Thank you all for tuning in. You've placed us in the top 10 of most listened to chiropractic podcasts in the U.S., and there's over 250 chiropractic podcasts. So you're listening to us and supporting our sponsors has put us in the top 10, and we appreciate it. And now, with another episode of Who is Animal Chiropractic, I'm here with Dr. Kayla. How are you today?
I'm doing so good. So good. It is great to be here. Thank you so much for the honor of coming to share. And I'm excited to talk all things animal chiropractic for sure.
All right. Tell us about yourself and your practice.
Awesome. Well, I graduated from ACES back in 2018, and I graduated from Sherman as well. So I'm local to Sherman. I am about 10 minutes from Sherman College. So I graduated in 2018. My husband was halfway through chiropractic school, and I wanted to just open something small and serve my community until it was time for him to graduate and move. That didn't happen because my animal practice and human practice exploded. And here we are 6 years later, still serving that same community and witnessing incredible things. And as like I always say, the animal community continually teaches us so much about the power of our bodies and the potential to heal that I always love sharing with our human patients as well, because they get to witness that. And everybody loves watching an animal adjustment, especially when they didn't know that animals can be adjusted.
Yeah. So what's your biggest win with animal chiropractic?
Oh, my biggest win was actually very, very recent. And so I always call myself over these years, there's amazing animal chiropractors in our community, and we all have our own little niche. And ironically, we all went to school together, which is super fun. So we have people who work in the dog show world. We work with people who work on horses. We have people who just work on small animals. That's me. And then we have people who work on more robust, more specific niches in terms of agility, in terms of sport. And then there's me, the couch potato animal chiropractor, who has become, over the years, the paralyzed specialist. I see so many overweight dogs who have spontaneous injuries of becoming paralyzed, have losing ability to maintain their constitution, their bowels, and just really, I think, seeing some of the hardest population to serve, because most of these populations come in with their owners not understanding anything as to why their animal got in this position to begin with. And so my most recent win, which I think it'll probably be my forever win in my entire time of being animal chiropractor, is I had a pit mix who's the age of 4, did not walk into my practice. The owner carried her into my practice with her entire pelvis and hind end tucked underneath of her. And the first thing I said was this animal hit by a car? Because I've seen several, hit by car animals over the past few years, one of which we've actually worked together on in the very beginning, who had over 45 fractures and had all kinds of reconstructive surgery. And honestly, it reminded me of this situation. And they had said this animal was not hit by a car. She was running outside with their other dogs and came running in and had this massive bout of zoomies and then just completely fell and collapsed. And so we had not really much information on the potential injury to go off of. And so I do what I always did. I always adjust Atlas for as many days in a row that I can and allow everything to do what it needs to do. And I work in threes. So something that I always tell of my patients is after 3 visits, we could have another conversation on whether there's 3 more visits that probably have potential or there's something else that needs to be done. And so this was the exact same situation. We adjusted Atlas, we checked upper cervical. There was so much flexion and extension lock going on. I just knew in my body this dog hit their head on something. They ran into something and the owner had no idea. So I was very adamant about just asking questions. There just wasn't a lot to know. So thankfully, this is one of the cases that the owner this was his baby. He was wanting to do whatever it took to help her heal because he knew she could heal as well. And he put his full trust in Animal Chiropractic. And so we had 3 rounds of upper cervical adjustments, Atlas, occiput. Then we took a day off because she actually started moving her tail. And then we had 3 more visits, one on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. And she was not holding her bowels. As soon as you touched her, she was releasing her bowels everywhere. It was probably one of the most physically difficult cases to look at because you couldn't see any type of injury. You just had no idea what was going on the inside. And so we just continued on that process. It took us about 3 weeks of seeing her 3 times a week. And then the wonderful hurricane came here in South Carolina and took out most of the upstate. We had a pretty devastating, unfortunate turn of events that we weren't expecting. And so he was not able to get out of his community to drive 35 minutes to me. So she had a full week of just resting, which he got her a bigger cage. He followed all the instructions on just helping her heal. And he showed up here the following week and she was standing on her hind end. Standing. And when I say she had, all of the neurological signs and markers were against us. They were against us. And there's been few times with animals that I've thought to myself, I just don't know about this one. And this is one that really pressed the issue on, is this really going to turn around? And so she was standing. She had stopped defecating when she was standing. She was able to hold her stool. And so again, we continued 2 times that week and I saw her twice last week. And she's actually no longer has any type of neurological deficits in her hind end. She's walking, she's wagging her tail, and she's now retaining her urine throughout the day and only urinating at night when she's sleeping. And she's 4 years old. And it has been a beautiful journey of just really trusting her body because we didn't have the means to be able to see her for that week. I couldn't get out of my neighborhood. He couldn't get out of his neighborhood. So it really was trusting in, the divine timing of the power of the body to heal and allowing principle number 6 to do what it needs to do and returning back to that the following week. And we are both over the moon excited for her because she has so much more life to live and she is so incredibly sweet. And the owner, of course, is blown away because it was, again, like most times, chiropractic was the last thing that he ever thought of doing for his animal, but he knew he didn't want her to go down a pathway of constant diagnosis, medications, all these procedures, and inevitably probably be told that she wasn't going to have any hope.
Cool. That's amazing. So I'm sure you have it all well documented and everything.
Yes.
Because there will be an opportunity soon for DCs certified by the AVCA to get a diplomate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be announcing it by the 1st of November. So this won't be out before then. But yes, it's going to be soon. The ICA is going to have a council on animal chiropractic. And so it'll be about 350 to 400 hours. So you already have your first 210.
Yeah.
They're going to allow 210 for the AVCA certification. So that will be step one. And then there'll be another, and you'll be able to do it in 2, 3, 4 years, however much you want to do it. But another couple hundred hours to get your diplomate in animal chiropractic. And part of that diplomate will be writing, because we need a volume of, there is no reference material out there. There's no anything. And so case reports will be possible. And so that's one that, could definitely be written up. And so that's yeah. So we're real excited about that. Yeah, it will happen soon.
That's an exciting move for the entire profession.
Yes. And we will see you. We just got asked to speak at Lyceum next year.
Oh, cool.
So we'll be at Sherman. Don't know how long we're speaking yet, but anyway, we'll be there. And that's cool. So what's your biggest surprise with animal chiropractic?
My biggest surprise, I think, I grew up most of my life as a northerner, so becoming a southerner for the past decade, just a shift of the culture when it comes to animal care. And it comes to, I always kind of joke and say, like, animals are really property here. And so, having to, in the very beginning, learn to have that conversation of, prioritizing the health of an animal over just expecting something to change, such as a quick fix. Because everybody locally is very familiar with chiropractic because of the chiropractic school being here. So there's hundreds and hundreds of chiropractors. But when I first opened my animal practice, there was just those of us who just graduated and one or two more locally. And so animal chiropractic wasn't something that was looked at as normal, as an average option. It was looked at something more of like a luxury, or only show horses had animal chiropractic care. That's how it was in the environment. And so the culture has really shifted with how many animal chiropractors are locally, and all of us are tapping into different niches. And so that biggest surprise to me was seeing that unfold over the past 6 years, because a lot of owners are very much, I had to deal with a lot of this in the beginning of like, well, I don't want to spend $100 on this animal. I'd rather just spend the $100 and put this animal down. And I was just like, really? Like it was a big shock to me, especially I don't adjust horses. That's not my passion. My passion is really, small animal rescue. And so when I started getting my hands on animals, I have 3 friends that have 3 separate rescues. And so I was just volunteering and helping them shift those rescues and working with very, complex cases who they genuinely cared about those animals and wanted to invest in them. And then you saw the public population that they're like, well, this dog just had puppies and we had, a C-section and we already spent the money there. And so the mother can't move now because she's, a very large bodied, overweight dog. And so now she can't move. So we'll just put the dog down. We have 9 more puppies, And I'm just like, wait a second. So that was the biggest shock to me, of just having to adapt to the way people look at their animals as property versus the culture that I came from.
Yeah. And then it's changing, definitely changing. And in fact, that I read a paper the other day that said 64% of young couples are now choosing animals over kids.
Yes.
So it's the new pediatric.
It is. Yeah, it's true. Coming from a pediatric practice, that's our human practice, predominantly pediatrics. You're right. It was very it was such a dichotomy of an experience, because you have the human world where they're willing to do anything, and then you have the animal world and they're like, well, this isn't just going to cost me $20. What do you mean? Like, I could just go get some type of, quick fix to make this dog not be in pain. And having to explain that in the animal world was quite much more, I think, difficult in the animal world, because people, when it's their human child, they're like, well, I have a duty and an obligation to take care of this individual because it's a human. But when it's property in our state, it's like, well, I could just get another one. Or in that mentality was just so like, really, is that what we're going through? But it has shifted. Has shifted very beautifully in seeing now the household conversation of chiropractic. fun story. This is probably like never will happen to me ever again in my life. I saw this animal, started seeing 4 or 5 years ago. It's a little beagle. Her name is Bitsy, and she came in with a disc herniation. She's thriving. I see her every single month for all these years now, and I haven't seen her for a few months. And we go to a outdoor music, like at a coffee shop, like an outdoor local band. And I see her owner, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like, I haven't seen you in so long." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. We haven't even thought to bring Bitsy in. She's been doing so well. It's been like 2 or 3 months." And he goes, "I'm so glad you're here." He goes, "I wrote a song about you." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "We're gonna play it tonight." He goes, "It's called the Animal Chiropractor." And so he wrote a whole song about taking his dog to the animal chiropractor and how they were going to put her down. She was a rescue with, habitual, yearly back issues, and they rescued her and they found me. And so I got this massive shout out at this local park event, and people were like, "What? Animal chiropractic? That doesn't sound right." And so he sang this whole song about Bitsy going to the chiropractor. And I was like, wow, I never thought I'd be in the right place at the right time. And someone wrote a song about animal chiropractic, but it's here now. So it's definitely more of common language and common practice.
Can you get a recording of that?
I should ask him. If he has it recorded, because it was live and in action.
Well, ask him if he has it recorded, because
okay.
We could definitely do some stuff with that and give him credit.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, my husband was like, we were there with my kids, and he was like, he's really about to sing a song about animal chiropractic. I was like, what are the odds? What are the odds?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I mean, there's books about it, and there's songs about it. And so, yeah, go ahead and see if you can get that. We'll tell him that we would definitely promote it, and go from there. That would be cool. What do you wish everybody knew about animal chiropractic?
Oh, well, we might ruffle some feathers with this one, but I think everybody should know that animal chiropractic is important to know, like to actually know, not to just assume because you're a chiropractor. I've seen a lot of that over the past several years. And that's something that myself and a lot of the other local animal chiropractors are constantly in conversation about, because it puts more individuals at risk for not getting the help that they deserve, and not just humans, but also animals, because there's a lot of individuals, especially locally, that are adjusting animals that have never even taken an education course on what the animal physiology or anatomy looks like. And even when I was in chiropractic school and doing animal chiropractic school simultaneously, there was a lot of professors who also had no idea, who had been tenured in their professions, the highest of their potential in terms of their technique, and just were also adjusting animals and had no idea the differences. And the simple shift of just the change in atlas adjustments from animals to humans is very different. And so seeing their animals and, in the continuum of their life and well-being, these animals that they were adjusting for years were still very sick and not functioning and still on medications. And so they were like, I don't know what else to do. I've been adjusting them. And so I do what I do, and I just adjust atlas. And they're like, why is all of everything completely gone? It took one adjustment. Why wasn't I doing that? And so that's the biggest thing, is we have a lot of not just chiropractors who aren't educated in animals, but we have a lot of lay individuals. We have a lot of vet techs. We have a lot of people who work in the vet community that are adjusting animals because they see that it works, but they don't understand what they're supposed to do behind it. So maybe I step on some toes by saying that, but at least getting an understanding to begin with on what the anatomy looks like, because the biggest thing I say to people is they walk on 4 legs, we walk on 2. There has to be a lot of things that are different in between us. And if you're not willing to start there and refer to somebody who has that knowledge and ability to understand their physiological differences, then you're doing a big disservice to everybody, because it makes animal chiropractic less on the map when we're just kind of guessing and poking and prodding instead of actually referring to someone who has the knowledge, skills, and abilities. And I see it a lot around here, dare I say, because of cost, because people want cheap care. They want to just be able to spend $15 on an animal adjustment. And for me, I value my work and the experience I have and all of the education I have in it. So it's not $15. It takes my time and my education and my experience. And that's why I work with a lot of paralyzed animals, unlike other local chiropractors who are just adjusting these animals. And it's had me have to have a boundary of I don't adjust any animal that has seen somebody else that has no education, because that's not my liability. So it does harm more animals because I'm not willing to take on that risk for somebody else who wasn't willing to have the education and knowledge they needed to actually help that individual. So that would be my biggest want for everybody. Even if you're not going to adjust an animal, it's kind of like going to a liberal arts school. They make you take 1,000 courses. At least take an education course on how animals and humans are different chiropractically, so you could have that appreciation and honor for those who are wanting to do that, and respect for the animal, of course, because we don't want to harm them.
Wow. So that's exactly what I said at the ICA board. Not quite as fluently as you did. And maybe not as politically correct as you did, but that's what I said at the ICA board in order to get the council formed. Mm-hmm. And so it's taken a long time, and I'm sure it was a dream of Sharon Willoughby, but basically, she was both a veterinarian and a DC, and she got arrested in one state for not being a DVM and in another state for not being a DC. Even though she had both degrees, she only had one license in each state, because she was like, why? It's stupid to have to get, 2 licenses, go to school for, 12 years, get 2 licenses to provide animal chiropractic, when both professions can adjust with extra training. And not a weekend course. Yep. I mean, there's no way. We sat down and looked at it, and the ACES program, if it was offered at a college, would be a 5-hour, it would be 5 college credits.
Wow.
So I don't know what that's equivalent to in chiropractic college, but in vet school, that would be equivalent of pharmacology or junior surgery or one of the major courses. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. So I don't know what courses did you have that were worth 5 college hours? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, ours was in the quarter system. So we took 25 or 26 hours a quarter.
Right.
So it would probably be like a full suite of we had anatomy 1, 2, and 3, and then a cadaver lab. So it would be like a full suite of an entire subject matter. It wouldn't just be like the first one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it would be in vet school too. And it would have met. So if it was in 16 weeks, mm-hmm. We would have met 1 hour every day for lecture. Mm-hmm. And then a 5-hour lab every weekend.
Yeah.
So pretty intense, but it is definitely, you need that basic in order to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly why we're hoping to what we're, and the veterinarians too, it's just going to be a slower time with the veterinarians, but to get chiropractic recognized as a veterinary specialty so that both professions, if they're AVCA certified, can go ahead and get more education, which would make AVCA a minimum, whereas right now AVCA is kind of the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to make AVCA the minimum standard of care.
Yeah.
And I think that will definitely help the profession.
I think our profession as a whole just genuinely struggles up against the fight, comparing ourselves to all the other horses in the game, essentially, because we're kind of up against all of like the specialties that occur within Western medicine, that occur within all these different delineations, that it is such a sad story to watch, that it's just everything is almost like a competitive racehorse. It's like we have to get there first, and then we have to drag this along, and then we have to get to this point. And I think that's been the hardest thing for a lot of the animal chiropractors that I've talked to, especially in all the various states and all the things that are constantly changing, is that there's a lot of indifference even within the chiropractic profession. You know, I taught CE back in November in the Caribbean on pediatrics and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And even in that small group of 30 or 40 people, there's still so much indifference in terms of chiropractic philosophy and chiropractic understanding. There's just so many nuances that get brought to the table that it makes it so difficult to get a single cohort of people on a single mission. Because even in the pediatric world, there's so many different arrays of, you know, some states you can, some countries you can adjust, some countries you can't adjust children. It's the same kind of like rat race that goes on within our profession, no matter if it's animals or humans or various levels of specialties, that I think we all just need to shift our eyes away from this like descriptive intention and set it on the terms of like what is for access for the people that need it. Like we just need this revolution, because I'm kind of, you know, as a chiropractor who's only been in it for 6 years, it's exhausting to constantly have to hear all the rhetoric and all of the politics of it, when I think there's a lot more that can be done, that we could shift this horse and buggy on a different road, instead of having to just constantly beat down the same path and hope we get a different experience out of it. And I don't have, you know, all of this ideas or ideologies on how to do it, but I know that something has to change in the chiropractic world, just like it has to change in our physical United States reality, because we're not going to get the same outcomes by doing this, or different outcomes by doing the same things that we've always done.
Right. Yep. And you know, where we do have the part is what I find is so amazing is when in the veterinary world, when, you know, people, I love it. We've had 3 people, veterinarians, come to class to prove this stuff doesn't work. And, you know, and now one has 3 full-time animal chiropractors that work for her. You know, and she actually came to prove that chiropractic didn't work. And so it's pretty difficult when for a professional, whether it be an MD or a veterinarian or whatever, to look at chiropractic and say it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like adjust first, drug second, and surgery third. I mean, we know that chiropractic, when done properly, has very, very few of any side effects. You know, BJ used to say that, you know, the only bad side effect is that you'll feel better, you have more energy. You know, Reggie Gold used to say, you know, there's no such thing as a bad adjustment. It's still better than none. So, you know, it is it's just a matter of education, though, and it gets tiring to have to educate. You know, that's why people laugh and they say, "Well, how come you have so much stuff written?" We have posters and we have brochures and we have books and we have videos and we have all kinds of stuff, and it's like, well, because I can't. If I have to do the same thing over like 3 times in a day, I'm just like, that's too hard for me to do it the 3rd time. I've already done this twice.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So then it ends up being some kind of a client education material so that other people can use it, because educating people about animal chiropractic is huge, because so many people, that's why the title of the first book was Yes, It's Really a Thing. The second book, which would be even bigger than the first book, is Yes, It's a Better Thing.
Yeah.
And it talks about chiropractic, exercise, and a species appropriate raw food diet.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, is that I can't talk to people about themselves because I am a veterinarian, but we send a lot of people to the chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
We change a lot of people's diets. When we change their dog's diet,
Yes.
and a lot of people start to exercise when they start to walk their dog.
Basic human functions.
Yes. And so it's, you say, and I've actually had one of the peds chiropractors, Dr. Kevorkian, actually told me that he felt that animal chiropractic might save the chiropractic profession. Might actually help the chiropractic profession get to a threshold where it would be, get over the 18%, because we have literally people come in all the time. Have you ever been to the chiropractor before? Oh, heck no. They're quacks. Okay. Why are you here? Because somebody said you'd help my dog. All right. Well, I'm going to be a quack, and well, that's okay. It's my dog. You can, like you said, it's property. It means a lot to us, but it's still property. So yeah. And then it never fails. 5-6 months later, those people are bringing their dog in for just their wellness. And they're like, "Hey doc, I got this thing in my neck. Can you fix it?" And I'm like, "No, I can't, but I know somebody that can." Whereas you're like, "Yep, lay down on the table."
Yes, it has become most people, we do all open adjusting in our office. So we have about 1,000 square foot that's open that everybody gets to sit and wait in. And then we have exam rooms off the side. And so most of the time when I'm intaking a new animal, they're going into an exam room and we're in there by ourselves. But most of the animals I see are very friendly. They're your couch potato pet. So they love kids. They love to be around kids. They're used to being around kids and loud noise. And so they just get adjusted out there too. And everybody loves to watch an animal adjustment. And we do adjust animals very differently than we do humans, because our humans, we do a tonal technique. So we do torque release technique, but humans, we of course do all hands-on manual adjusting. And so it's fun for them to learn and see that most humans in our practice don't want to be manually adjusted, but educating them on the importance of manually adjusting an animal based off their anatomy is something that they never could ever even imagine. Because most of them have actually, should I say fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure which one, have taken their animal to another chiropractor who tried to use an instrument and nothing got better. And so there's this, this education gap that fortunately gets to happen, because they're like, well, I've never seen a dog be adjusted that way. Or I've never seen a cat, which is so fun, because I've adjusted probably, I don't want to say more cats than I have dogs over the last 6 years, but I was surprised at how many cats I do actually see, and have become very passionate about serving the feline world with animal chiropractic, because they are so fun to work with. And I think there's just another, like, it's a different layer than you see with dogs, because dogs are very vocal and present and very, cats are just very kind of like standoffish and they keep to themselves. And then you don't see as much physically with them, but you see a lot of really cool changes. So having them bring animals into our office has opened up a lot of conversations for just education for people who don't even have animals. And they refer people in when they hear somebody that has an animal situation, because their chiropractor, they see animals in their chiropractic office. Like, I don't know if they can help you, but I've seen a cat get adjusted in there before, so maybe you should try that.
Yeah, open adjusting is cool. And there's people that worry about that.
Mhm.
You have to worry about the cleanliness between people and dogs and all that stuff. And yeah, it's not any different than just between people in an open adjusting room. So yeah. So if I need to get my couch potato dog adjusted, how do I get a hold of you?
So we are in the upstate of South Carolina, Love and Light Family Chiropractic, loveandlightfamilychiropractic.com. You can hit the contact me button, send me information, and I will reach out to you. We will get all the information provided from you and any other vet or any information that we need in order to get working together. So you could just submit that contact form via email, and I will get back to you typically within like 1 to 2 days, and then we can get working together.
All right. Any parting words of wisdom?
Oh, again, I'm a weirdo in the animal chiropractic world. I didn't pick it, it picked me, but during this time of year, and I know we'll probably air this a little bit in the future, but the winter season, of course, is when all animals follow the winter solstice of slowing down and resting. And so every year it's inevitable. I have more animals that I see that are on their deathbeds, that more animals that I see are in transition. I actually, last week, one of my senior animals I've been adjusting for several years was 22 and finally passed away. I get calls to adjust animals at their end of life as if I'm hospice. And I've worked with all of those situations. And so parting wisdom is that animal chiropractic isn't just to live well, it's also to live fully and live peacefully. Because a lot of these animals that I'm seeing in this season, I'm continually adjusting them with a difference in change of tone. I'm not going to stop adjusting an animal who is not well and is on that transition. I've adjusted several animals who intentionally the owner wanted me to come in to help adjust them because they know it's eased them before in terms of their comfort when healing. And then I've also been there hands-on and adjusted while animals have passed soon after and stayed with the family. So animal chiropractic isn't just a job like we tend to think it is and disconnect ourselves from the human chiropractic world. I've formed some of the most intimate and connected, deeply spiritual connections with a lot of these animals who, dare I say, hit me harder a lot than with my human patients, because they fully show up for you to adjust them. So my wisdom being that you could be any type of animal chiropractor that you want to be. Just please get educated and find the niche that you want to serve and that they want to help start a community in. And it could be a really beautiful experience. I don't adjust a lot of puppies. I adjust a lot of middle-aged to end-of-life dogs, and call myself kind of like the death doula animal chiropractor in the winter seasons, because that's actually what nature calls for. We are nature, so are animals, and that's what physiologically happens in the winter seasons. And so being okay with understanding that chiropractic can be a part of all parts of life, I think is, the wisdom that I want to share with others. It doesn't always have to be a bright and shining light of life. It can be a bright and shining light for the family as well, to know that their animal was provided for and loved and cared for. And I've been invited to animals owners' Christmas parties for their animals as their animal chiropractor, more than I even have in the human world. So it's a very special industry. And if that's something that pulls on your heartstrings, I invite you to answer the call.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you said I have a 18-year-old Great Dane
Wow.
that comes in every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think there's no way this dog's 18. And then there's some times where I'm pretty sure this is his last adjustment.
Yep.
And 2 weeks later,
Mhm.
he rolls in. So anyway, yeah. and I don't know who's gonna be hit harder when it happens, the owner or me or the family. But
Yep.
yeah, it is definitely, and we do see, one of the horses that you got to work on when you were here in class, Bud, he was 42 when he passed.
Wow.
So I think our we've only got one old horse now, and none of our horses are under 15. So but we have Preacher's our only one over 30, and he's looking like maybe he's gonna be the next one to cross. But it definitely is. You get in, you get touched with those, and it's close. But anyway, well, I thank you so much for your time today.
Yes.
And thank you all for listening. And remember, everybody out there listening, remember, the body heals one way only, above, down, inside out. Keep those atlases adjusted, and we'll see you next time. All right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing so much today.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So I heard two things that I want you to follow up on.
Mhm.
One would be the I want the song. Get the song.
Okay.
And two is not that you have to teach it, but jot down some notes for the differences for that introductory class of why you shouldn't adjust if you don't know these things. Like, so I gave a talk on contraindications to adjusting at the AVCA last year or the year before, and it was not what anybody thought it was going to be. Because basically, my first contraindication was if you're in a pissy mood, don't adjust.
Yeah.
All right. You have to be right first.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't adjust an animal that won't let you touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, it's not your job to be a dog trainer. So if you've got an aggressive dog that nobody can handle, that's not your job, it's, and then, or aggressive cat, or a horse that, won't even let them put a halter on it. That's not your job as an animal chiropractor. And then basically the next one was, if you don't know the anatomy, if you don't know the facet angles, don't be adjusting. That's why we have our 36 different species in the bone room. We're going to have food animal this weekend, which is something we don't talk about in regular class, right? But we're going to have food animal, and we're going to spend probably 4 hours in the bone room. We're going to look at poultry skeletons. We're going to look at pig skeletons. We're going to look at sheep and goat and cattle. And then we're going to go adjust all those things, but not until we look at the bones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a video of a giraffe getting adjusted, which is not an adjustment, it's manipulation. But then at the end, the giraffe passes out. You can actually see the giraffe pass out, which giraffes have all kinds of adaptations to maintain adequate blood pressure in their brain. And if you adjust my atlas, what happens to blood pressure?
Just goes down.
It goes down. So what happens when you adjust a giraffe's atlas?
Goes down.
And they fall over. Not good. So yeah, don't be, adjusting things you don't know. One of the things you were talking politics, we had a chiropractor that was unlicensed in Texas come down and adjust a bunch of giraffes, and he passed the giraffe out. But then he also adjusted a sea otter that had metabolic bone disease, and it had 2 fractured femurs is why it was paralyzed, not because it couldn't feel its legs. And he adjusted the sacrum, so now it has 3 fractures in the back end.
Oh,
And when he adjusted the sacrum, it hurt, so it bit the owner.
gosh.
Owner dropped it, and now it has 5 fractures.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah. So you talked about harming animals that you don't, because if you don't know, you don't know. So anyway, any questions you have for me?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'm glad you're doing great.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
appreciate it. And anyway, so yeah, jot some notes on that down. What you think a minimum you should know if you're going to adjust animals, and why it's so important to know those differences.
Cool.
Like you said, we see it all the time. We talked about Dewey. I think Dewey had been to 2 chiropractors that didn't adjust the atlas.
Yeah.
And he was,
I see that all the time. I see a lot of the chiropractors. The biggest thing for me, even amongst a lot of us locally, who come from a lot of the same background, a lot of people would rather, adjust more in terms of getting someone their dollars worth. I charge the most locally out of everybody, but I also don't see a lot of animals because I'm about to have my 3rd child. I'm not in full-time practice anymore. I have a full online business that I run. So I see a decent amount of animals, but I'm not in full-time animal practice or even full-time human practice. So I charge for the animals because I have a high quality of care. And so most of the time, a lot of the calls that I get are like, well, I don't want to pay, $70 for a visit. And I'm like, then go see this chiropractor. And they will see, that we have a flea market animal chiropractor that goes to the flea market and adjusts everybody's animal for $15 or whatever. And so, they could do them. That's their own little world that they live in. But most of the time I get calls saying, well, they adjusted the whole back end and they still have a lumbar disc issue. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to touch the back end. I'm only going to adjust the neck. So if you're okay with paying $70 for one adjustment and then coming in, I will reassess the next day. You're going to have to adhere to 3 days in a row. I'm going to make time in my schedule. You're going to make time in your schedule. And then that's when, of course, as you know, you see everything heal up and they're back to normal. And they wasted all this time, energy, and effort on telling them where to adjust. And I don't ever stand for that. I don't adjust a lot of anything other than the necks of all of the animals ever, because I don't really want to, because there's no need to. And 2, that's not where the biggest change happens. So, there's still a lot of that politics in the local community, even amongst a lot of people that say, well, I saw Dr. So-and-so and she said she knows you and she went to school with you, but she adjusted all of the limbs and the arms or the legs and all the things. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. I don't do that unless I absolutely need to. And there's nothing that's telling me I absolutely need to. So there's a lot of differences, but I stay in my lane and do what I know that works and keep on moving on.
Good. I actually was talking to a doctor out of Georgia, a human doctor, and he says you can't adjust an extremity.
We don't adjust extremities in our human practice. We are very straightforward to just the tonal system and the human practice, which most of the time is only the neck and sacrum stuff most of the time.
Yep.
The 2 parasympathetic areas.
Well, what he says is that the goal of a chiropractic adjustment is to reestablish the architecture of the vertebral foramen to remove nervous system interference. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I agree. We work in the tonal world, so what I tell everybody is your body already knows how to heal. It needs to know how to heal, or it knows how to heal. It doesn't need to know how to heal. It just needs better integration of what it's working with based off the external experiences you're going through. So if we can adjust the tone of your spine, like you can adjust the tone of an orchestra to make it sound better, we don't have to do as much. It's usually 1 or 2 tweaks and your body does the rest, because I'm not your body and I'm not God and I don't play that for your body. I don't need to go in and fix everything.
Well, but he says there's no vertebral foramen in the talus.
Yeah.
So
I don't agree.
Yeah, so you can manipulate extremities but adjust the spine. So anyway, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I will say there's been times where I've had injuries, and I like a good gross manipulation because I fell on my wrist because it needs to be realigned in terms of carpals are out of alignment because I fell flat on it. But it doesn't need to be adjusted every visit. It's a spontaneous injury.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And good luck. If you have any questions, give us a call.
If you are or know a veterinarian or chiropractor, or a student of either of these professions, visit our website, Animal Chiropractic Education Source, to see how to become certified in animal chiropractic. Start improving the lives of the animals around you. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the ACES channels so that you never miss an exciting episode.